All right, guys, welcome back to Dads Against the Narrative, the show where we cut through all the noise, challenge the status quo, and talk real talk about life, family, and the world all around us. Today, we're going to be jumping into a special topic with my co host, Alex Lange. Thank you, bro, for being here. And our topic today is going to be identity and purpose. And we're going to jump into anywhere and everything about identity and purpose. So, a lot of the fathers out there, as you're listening, I know you may be thinking your identity is being a dad and your purpose is being a dad, and they're tied together. And that's very, very common. Before we started the show, me and Alex just were talking about that. And when I got out of the military, I really felt um, that exact phrase. I felt as if my identity and purpose now became fatherhood or being a dad, because I thought my purpose before and my identity, I had them tied together always, was military. I was a leader in the military, and that was it, guys. I thought, here I am, here's my purpose, and I would tell people that. I remember counseling my young soldiers and being like, you need to find your purpose in life. I'm luckily for me, I found my purpose in being a leader in the military. And that I would often talk to the guys who didn't want to be in the military. I'd say, hey man, you just need to find your purpose. And I always thought that was mine, especially when I switched from enlisted to commission. I really am like, oh, this is it, man. God's giving me the sign. How funny I look back now and look at, because I don't know if that was like my purpose, but my purpose hasn't changed much even from that, because I'm still coaching, mentoring, and teaching in different ways and in different capacity. So I think that was always my real calling of my purpose. Now my identity, I don't know, Alex. I'll let you hit on identity. Of what would you say the difference of identity and purpose are before we even get going? Maybe we should. Um,
Yeah. No, I was following you because it's so interesting. There's a lot of men and myself included, right? That we come into this world and we don't really question what it is that we want. And what I mean by that is men are modeling creatures. And I've said this to you many times on different platforms, but men model the most masculine, intimate relationship that they experience growing up. And so if we have a father, majority of us have a father or a grandfather that was always working, that they were the financial provider, but they maybe weren't always able to be there mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And so we didn't have that experience or that transaction, so to speak, to where we can see or have a an example of what purpose and identity looked like. And so a lot of men, what happens is we go through our young lives and we're just navigating through that and we get into our teenage years and there's no rites of passage, which I know we'll get to probably in this podcast, but there's not this formal rites of passage where we are helping young men build identity and build purpose in their life. There's this big misconception, and I know for me, I fall under this a lot for a long time, was purpose equaled success. So I was really good at being in the military and leading sailors and getting people to do the job. I was a good transactional leader. And so because I was good at my job and I was advancing in the ranks and I was getting recognition and this external validation, I was like, this is my purpose in life. But the reality is, and I was reading something recently, that with men that don't have a clear inner direction, that don't have this connection, that they weren't taught or this wasn't built into them, they fall into two categories. They fall into this conformism. They fill the void with two categories, excuse me. There's conformism, where when you don't know what you want, you start doing what everyone else is doing. And we use the crowd as the compass. So we see everybody else, they're out there with the trend, the current trend. We're going to do that trend. It could be the culture, it could be expectations, but the external, the majority, they decide for us. And then you have the other void, which is totalitarianism. And this just isn't just political. I'm not getting political here, but it's really, if you think about it, when someone feels empty internally, he's easy to control from the external. And that was me. Like that was me. I put a post up recently that when I was 17 years old and I got in some trouble and I went to juvenile boot camp and I gave this speech at the end of the juvenile boot camp. And I felt so good giving this speech. But because it was the military, I was really good at following orders because my dad was in the military. And so I joined the military to create a deeper connection with my dad. And where I'm going with this is with totalitarianism, when we don't have this inner direction or this clarity in our life, other people are going to push us into what they want, not versus what we want. So what happens is when we start to wake up, when we start to question the narrative, we start to feel this disconnection to self. Where the burnout, I'm sure you've heard of burnout symptoms, or you're not motivated, or you got to reset, so to speak. And that's where with me, and I don't know if I answered your question, but that's why it's important for men to create a connection to themselves, to sit with themselves, to start asking themselves, who are they? Not their identity in the sense of, or excuse me, not their paycheck or their title and what they do out externally. It's what are they, who are they wanting to be in this world from an internal standpoint?
Yeah.
You,
No,
you
no,
get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I get that for sure. Uh, well, I think you are referring to is identity, the sense of self, right? Because I think when you think of identity in the sense of self, you're thinking of personal traits. That's you being a goofball like me, or serious, or whatever, outgoing. And then you think of titles you actually have: father, military, whatever our ranks were, or position we were in at that time, societal identities, right? That's like the father, the boss, all of those things. So I think that's identity. And then purpose is direction. It's like the sense of direction. Where am I going? How am I helping the bigger picture, the why of who I am? So 100%, I agree. If people are falling into that cognitive dissonance, or as you said, conformity, or was it conformity or something like that you said,
Yeah,
Alex?
yeah, conformism.
Conformism, yeah. When people fall into that, I feel as if they have lost purpose. They may know who they are and they still have those titles, but their purpose is gone. And when they fall into the totalitarian ways too, of just being told what to do, same thing. It's kind of like they don't have a purpose. They're kind of in the unknown. They may have an identity. It could be, hey, right now I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm whoever, some type of identity. Like we can always find some kind of identity with titles. And I think that's an easy one. Or if you look at the psychological, like I was saying, identity is also like I'm a goofy man. So it's like my son's a goofy boy. It's like that's part of our identities. But what's our purpose is helping the world. How is it going to grow? How are we going to make this world a better place? And I think also purpose is also legacy, right? I mean, to me, and some people may argue this, and you can please, if you see something different, please leave comments. We will comment back and forth. I love these kinds of talks. Um, but I definitely think you you have to work on purpose. Like you need to find something that you're passionate about, that helps others grow, that helps your community. That's a purpose. And a lot of times, what I feel, and this is me personally, Alex, not attack on anyone, that too many fucking parents out there squash their kids so much and don't get involved, don't be present, don't ask open ended questions and allow them to answer and slow it down. So they take away their kids' purpose without knowing. Obviously, I'm not attacking you parents out there that are busy and you're trying to make it happen and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's just it is what it is. But often I think kids, and I like to believe this, I truly do like to believe this. I like to believe kids are born with a purpose. They know their mission, and it's up to us to give them the options or the abilities to find that. So when your purpose is easily identified, often I look at some kids that are homeschooled. I'm like, these kids seem to know their purpose. If it's from your kids surfing and adventures to world schooling and helping the world, come together in a different aspect, that's it. If it's like my son and he's all about dancing and singing and he just wants to bring great music to the people and great lyrics and, it's a higher energy, higher frequency, that can be it also. But we have to allow them to go through all of their adventures and all of their ideas that are in their head so they can find what they truly came here for. And I think when you're a parent and you're just throwing your kid into daycare, you're throwing your kid into public school, and then they're going to college, you're not giving them an opportunity to really just dive into like, hey, why am I here? And often those conversations with parents aren't even being had because your kid's in school all the time and they think they're here because of whatever the programming has been in the school. As I was programmed when I went to public school, it was just like, hey, you're here because you need to go help someone else's company get bigger. And you need to work and make money so your family can be happy. And you don't need to be happy while you work. You need to just work. Like, what the fuck? Like, and then when you say it out loud, it's like, seriously? I remember fighting my stepfather and being like, dude, you're so wrong. Work and happiness can be tied together. I don't understand how makes no sense to you. And I was a bricklayer for 10 years. I hated being a bricklayer. Hated it. It was fucking horrible. It was awful, especially with those 2 years of being a laborer before I got into the apprenticeship. Absolutely horrible. I had no purpose and I had no identity. I was just trying to figure out life at 20 years old because I never had those years of experience with my parents or conversations with other people. This is why I think homeschooling is also huge, is because our kids aren't around just their peers, they're around older kids, younger kids, adults. So they're having conversations that adults are having or listening to conversations that adults are having. And therefore, they're able to find their identity and their purpose before they're adults. And I think that's the true path that I think we're meant to be on. I mean, even if you look at the Constitution, it was written by all 20-year-olds. I think most of those guys were like in their mid to lower 20s. Telling me they didn't find their purpose, and all of them were homeschoolers because everyone's in a public school system. Come on, come on, you know what I mean? So
I love that you went that route with it because I want to just highlight something that you said. You're talking about parents squashing their kids' purpose, and once again, it goes back into the very beginning of the podcast, and as we repeat what we see. And me and you, I say our generation, you're a little bit older than me, but like where we're at with in regards to having kids at very similar ages, we are this generation of being able to change the trajectory for our families and for society because we are spending more time, number one. So it's forcing us to relate with our kids on a different level. Part of that process, and I'll use your term. I know that I've heard this term many times, but I know you've said it a lot too, is you have to do some deschooling in your sense, in your own regards of parenting and getting clear on how you want to be a parent. Do you want to be a parent that leads with fear? Right? Because if you look at everything in the majority of the systems in this world, they lead with fear. So that's what's keeping people stuck in these systems and in these cycles is because fear is taking over. And when we experience fear, we contract, right? We stay inward. We don't take the step. We don't even try because we don't feel like we are going to do good enough with regards to homeschooling or the job or whatever the case may be. Whatever it is that you want to do, you're not taking the step because you're scared. And it's possibly not that you're scared of the thing that you're trying to do, but it's because of the beliefs inside your head. The beliefs, going back to what you're saying, is we squash our own kids' purpose by the beliefs that we just throw onto them because we're not questioning ourselves. So, with what we're doing is we're giving our kids this playground. You know, a lot of people say, when I say the word learning, they're like, oh, institutions. No, learning happens everywhere in life. And the beautiful thing about what kids are getting to experience nowadays that are outside of the school system is that they are getting to navigate different things. And maybe they're good at it, maybe they're not, but they're experiencing at a young age. So when they get to our age, they have a better, clear direction and purpose of where they want to go. And that's the thing that I think we're time distortion is we're collapsing the time for kids to goof around. So when they get to 18, 19 years old, or even 20 years old, they don't find themselves in $100,000 worth of debt because they went to college for a degree that they thought they liked. But then when they did it and they went out in the real world, they're like, hell no, I don't like this. So that leads me to my last thing, and I'll throw it right back to you is people get so confused with the zone of excellence and the zone of genius. And we were talking about this. Most people are stuck. 90% of the world are stuck in their zone of excellence. And this zone of excellence is you're really good at something, you're really good at it, you get acknowledgement, you get validation, but it drains you. It takes away from you. And then you show up in the world not the person that you want to be. The zone of genius is you do things that you love, that you're passionate about, it fills your cup, and it's contagious and expands to the world. And I think and I'm going to turn it back over to you here, is that we're doing our kids a disservice. And I know we went away from purpose and meaning for a second, but we're doing our kids a disservice if we don't show them how to do their zone of genius. If we don't help them find what they're good at that brings them joy and allow them to do more of that so they can be better in the world.
Oh, I love that, dude. I had to look that up. What you were just saying, zone of excellence and zone of genius. And I'm looking at this thing where it's like zone of excellence for the identity. A father's identity is defined by his role performance, e.g., getting promotion, earning certain salary, fixing everything. He is excellent at providing, organizing, and managing the family logistics. He gets positive feedback and recognition. So he gets the feeling, he gets the identity, and then he gets the cost of excellence trap. While he is outwardly successful, he feels drained and emotionally distant. He is using taught skills rather than his unique, innate talents, his genius, leading to a slow loss of personal purpose. Holy shit. Bro, you just opened up fucking Pandora's box here. I never looked into this. This is great. And then it talks about the zone of genius. And let me see if it says something for fatherhood here on it.
As you look
It's
that up, I just want to say one thing. With the reason why why men specifically get stuck is because we validate our belonging, our value. We want to feel valued as men, as fathers. So if we have the job, we have everything going for us, and we're good at it, then we want to keep doing it because it's comfortable and we feel valued. But the reality is, it's draining us.
Bro, you're not lying. And then this part says integrate genius into fatherhood. If a dad's zone of genius is innovative problem solving, his purpose becomes leading his family to creatively solve challenges rather than simply fixing problems for them. This creates a legacy of unique contribution, not just basic competence. Bro, I love that. That's exactly what you were just saying. I've never even heard any of this before for me. And me and you talk all the time. So, 100%.
And
100%.
that doesn't even, I'm going to give you a true story that happened today and you'll laugh at this. So we're at the beach. It's a mile and a half a walk away. We're at the beach. My son he just finished surfing. My second oldest son finished surfing. And him to go put his board up in the shack, it's like a 300-yard walk. Okay. So he had to walk back a little bit. But he looked at me and he's like, I don't want to do that. I said, but do you understand? I'm not going to here to fix you. I'm not going to save you. But do you understand that the walk back is a mile and a half? It's like three times more than what you're trying to do right now. And he was like, I don't want to take my board back. Okay, cool. But understand that your choices have consequences. I'm here for you the whole way. And I think that's with men, especially like the zone of genius where I'm going with this is, like you said, I'm not here, I'm not going to solve your problem. But I'm going to start asking questions to make you think, critically think, to where you can start to solve your own problems. And that is a skill that we can build as fathers to ask that to ourselves, and then it transcends and it goes into our kids as well.
Bro, 100%. You know, as you're saying a bunch of that stuff right there, the last two segments here, I was just thinking like men out there listening, fathers out there listening, your purpose sometimes could be breaking the patterns of the old, right? 100% that you could be here on earth just to build a new legacy for your family lineage. So it's like sometimes we're put here just for simple things for our kids or their kids to have an open door to their purpose. So I'm a true believer that all of us have purpose. And a lot of times people are like, well, what was your mom's purpose? She died at 43. Well, her purpose was to have me because she knew she was going to have a kid that was going to break uh, all the bullshit of our family's lineage. You know, there's a lot there of generational patterns that were so negative and lasting and lasting, and they haven't stopped for 70 years. So someone had to come along. So that could have been her purpose. That's why she might have died young, and maybe she's back. Who knows? I don't know how that works because I've never died, but I like to believe that they're free to come back and they keep going and reliving life until they find that true connection with the pure energy, which is love. And so, who knows?
I
I don't.
you, This might be controversial to people that are listening, but I really want to say this. My belief, right, very similar to what you were just saying, is after my son died, my youngest son died, I read a book called Your Soul's Plan. And I am a firm believer that we choose everything that happens to us. So you were talking about purpose and when people pass away. And I am a firm believer that when someone dies, even my son at 18 months old who died, they completed their purpose here on this earth in this lifetime. And that's sometimes people are like, that's bullshit. Like, in the book, it specifically talks about this. It talks about people getting raped, domestically abused. Like it goes deep into these dark issues and why they had to experience that in this lifetime and how that correlates into other lifetimes or past lifetimes. And where I'm going with this is it goes back to the purpose thing is a lot of people need to understand that once again, purpose is a choice and we get to create it. We as the person get to choose what our purpose in this life is. And that can be through three ways, right? And way number one can be through creating or contributing to something that could be work, art, service, like we were talking about service to others, building something. Number two, and you talked about love as an energy, experiencing something or someone. And that can be through love, it can be through connection, it can be through nature, whatever the case may be. And then the third one, where I'm leaning heavily into this in this moment in my life, so this season in my life, is choosing your attitude in the suffering. So when the shit hits the fan, when the pain comes, when life throws punches at you and you're like, what the hell is happening here? You can only control your attitude in the situation, how you choose to show up. And that's when we really discover who we are. If we can look at all of that negative or that pain or whatever the case may be, and we can see the positive into it, the beauty in it, right? And what I mean by that is the lessons of it all, then the suffering becomes a doorway. And it's not something that we ask for, but it's something that we can grow through. It's a transformational piece. And a lot of people get stuck in this victim mindset. And I know we've talked about this many times before, but people get stuck in this victim mindset and they think the world is out to get them. But as long as as soon as they shift that perspective and they see that, hey, this is happening through me, right? I'm the creator of my life. How I show up in the world is up to me. Things changed completely. And Jack, like I know we've talked many times. I actually talked to you on the day that my son died. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying this from a true stance. I cry, I still have my moments, but I am not angry with anybody or anyone that he passed away. I know that this was a step in my next development as a person. And we're talking about something that a lot of people are terrified of, losing a child, right? But it's being able to stay in that suffering, not run away, not cope, not distract, not be pissed off about it, but to stay in it and say, okay, what is it that you're here to teach me? And then choose how our attitude in that suffering.
Yeah, bro, that's super deep. And you know, I think about when my mom died, I did the opposite. I fled as fast as I could from the suffering, and I wanted to numb it and numb it and numb it and numb it. It was just that was it constantly. When I would wake up, it was, hey, how can I numb this pain again? How can I get back? And it led to loser traits. It didn't lead to me overcoming my mom's death until 10 years later, because you have to eventually sit with it and you have to face it and you have to accept it, and you have to find a reason. Sometimes you just have to find a fucking reason of like, hey, is there a bigger calling? And this is, guys, this is gonna get wild for a second here. Just stick with me, okay? When you question someone's deeply held beliefs, and you'll quickly see the difference between an opinion and their identity. And too many people are wrapping themselves up in identities that are not really who they are. And so when you start doing that, and you're wrapping yourself in, we'll say you're one of these crazy people that just ties themselves to everything the government says. Hey, COVID vaccines are great. COVID masks are great. Ukraine flags, awesome. Israel's who we stand with. And you just keep tying yourself to like politicians' bullshit and jargon that they keep throwing out at us. Well, then when you do go through something difficult, it's going to be harder to peel back those layers and really get to the like learning abilities or getting to the part where like you can heal. And that's a very important part. And this is a big part where people will say, well, Jack, you did a whole episode on flat earth and you believe in flat earth. It doesn't matter what I believe. But here, let me just give you a sense of a part of the like the flat earth thing that a lot of people come at me for. One, if there's a flat earth and it's expansive, wide every which direction, and it keeps going, it keeps growing, and it molds itself and continues growing, and there's no space, well, then that means God created something that's really fucking important in that we are more powerful than we know. If there's space and they keep zooming out and showing you all these fucking things flying around and we're spinning a million miles per hour, the sun's spinning, everything's fucking spinning. Well, and then they show you that one little picture where it's like, that's you. And it says dot on a ball. They're trying to show you that you're meaningless, that you're nothing, that you're an ant. But I don't agree with that. And that's a big part of like the flat earth people is that they do believe that God or some creator is there and that we are connected fully and thoroughly to the creator. So we are the creator ourselves. And that's why, Alex, when you were saying like we actually decide everything we're going to go through in life and we kind of bring all of that to fruition, it's true. It's all up here. So if you're able to control what's inside, and I'm talking about up here and down here, your heart and your mind, and when you can control what's inside and the food you eat, because right, the food nourishes your soul, and that's why we want to eat healthy foods and foods full of good nutrients. Um, you feel better, you feel different, and you feel that your life is not meaningless. And then when you go out and you have a purpose and you feel strong connection to God, you have a strong connection to your family, you're a great leader, you're built in your masculine. Well, guess what? No one in the world is going to say something that's going to fucking falter you. It's not going to mess you up. They can say anything and you're not going to feel like a victim. You're not going to feel virtuous for who you are. Like though that shit doesn't exist in real men. In real men with purpose and a great identity. And if you haven't heard, you need to be listening to the episode with me, Alex, and Greg Denning. And we go through entire identity of the informable man. And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what Greg says. I mean, he drops so much knowledge on this exact thing of being a man. And guys, the only way we can move forward is by understanding our role in the overall picture. And then doing little micro fucking habits that make us get better daily or build on our legacy. And when you do that, you feel like this thing called joy. You could feel this thing called joy. And let me tell you, the Stoics said it all the time. It was we allow all emotions to pass through us, but we only stay in a joyful mindset. So that means if something bad and shitty happens, I get in a car crash and someone messed up my car, or my car just breaks down and I don't have enough money to fix it. Well, guess what? I'll say, okay, well, that sucked. But I don't ruin my whole fucking day because of it or the next week. I show up as a great leader in my family, as a great man for my husband and even for myself. And I still show up in a joyful state and say, well, it's just a thing. It's okay. And we're going to keep on moving on and be happy with life. And the Bible says something very similar. And it says something instead of joy, I think it uses the word in happy. Or I have them mixed. But one of them says happy, one of them says joy. It's the exact same thing of stoicism, of accepting all emotions, but only staying in the positive side, the love side, the joyful side, the happy side. And so when you see that, and especially people who are big Christians and they come at me with all kinds of stuff, which they do about hitting their kids. That's like the big one for some unknown reason. Their identity is tied to the fucking iron rod that they must hit their kids. And it's so strange. Again, guys, When I went to the flat earth, it wasn't just about flat earth. It's about everything we've been taught, the deschooling part that Alex was talking about. You have to question everything to say, you know what the fuck is the truth? How am I going to teach my kids all of this shit that's lies and fake and bullshit? And it's all with the status quo. Instead, it could all be fake and it all could be lies. And a lot of people out there aren't ready to accept that they've been lied to that hard, that strong, because their identity is tied into the mix so hard that you are literally, when you say something opposite of them, it's their identity feels attacked. So now they feel, you know, that not virtuous. What's it? What's the word you said before? Shit, forgot it.
I got so caught up into what you were saying that I don't even
Yeah.
remember.
Anyways, but these people are all like they've lost their fucking minds, guys. So it's like we need to get back to the basics, get back to reality, and this is the major part of the show is questioning the narrative, right? Question all the narratives, not just one. And not that me and Alex or me and Nate agree on every single thing, but we're open to discussions. We're grown ass men having conversations on things that we never probably thought. I never in a million years, 10 years ago, would have been like, dude, I'm having conversations on flat earth. No fucking way. That was just like 6 months ago. Someone brought to my attention and they're like, hey, try to beat me. And I tried. And we had fun doing it. And I'm like, I can't beat you, dude. All the evidence is proven, even the Suez Canal, the Supreme Court. And that goes on for many things, guys. It goes on towards chemtrails that people don't want to believe about, 5G towers, vaccines. They talk about vaccines being poisoned and the serpent's death when they came out. It was all in the newspapers. So it goes on and on. World War II, all of our history books. It goes on and on and on. We've been lied to over and over and over again. And as we all have said, probably once in our lives, the winners create history. And so, what are the winners going to do? They're going to manipulate the history. Obviously, we've seen that so many times. We saw it just recently with Kamala Harris talking about J6 being worse than Pearl Harbor. And then the funny part is we now know all the information came out, and there's 70 CIA informants inside the crowd. They're the first to light off some shit. Like it's all on video. And then we also know Pearl Harbor was an inside job, as 9/11 was an inside job, as the Gulf of Tonkin was an inside job. As you see, all of these are false flags, and all of them were part of a plan to control us eventually, or at some kind of measurement that's going to control us down the road. So you have to question the narratives and you have to de-school yourself on many, many aspects, you know?
You had me at the religion one. So I'm just gonna, I mean, we could go deep into the religion one, but I'm with you, man. I feel like this man in the sky, it's a ploy to get people to outsource their power.
Yes.
So just put a pin in that for another day. But I'm a firm believer that we all have God energy in us. I don't believe in a man in the sky named God. I believe that there's this higher source, higher power, but we all have this ability to be God, right? We have God-like energy. For another time, though. But one thing that you were tying into all of this that I wanted to hit on and make sure that we get back to that is this, people don't like tension, right? People want to be in homeostasis. People want peace. Most people think that peace equals no tension. And I would actually say that it's quite opposite. And what I mean by that is that we were going back to purpose and meaning, that in order for you to find your purpose or your meaning, it requires tension. This is all found in your, not in your comfort zone. So you have to be pushed and challenged and suffer and look face to face with pain, right? Because what I feel like in my own life has felt empty, not because of having too much stress, but not because I didn't have enough meaningful stress, right? Like there's good stress and there's bad stress. And I'm not a doctor to dive into that, but where I'm going with this is when I wake up in the morning now and I have conversations like this or I get in front of stages, that is good stress because I am trying to help. I'm serving the world and help put a message of people stepping into their purpose, living and leading with purpose, right? And that's the thing, especially as we're in a fatherhood podcast. Why are we not implementing these and having these rites of passages more often? Why aren't we putting money behind men raising young men through rites of passage program and helping them, what does it really mean to be a man? And so for me, I would challenge people the exact opposite. Where in your life are you avoiding tension that could actually bring you purpose? Where are you running away from the tension because you feel like you don't want you don't want this conflict? Jack was talking about having conversations, having constructive conversations and challenging beliefs. That's how we sharpen each other's iron, right? Iron sharpens iron. And I like Jack said, I tell you what, man, I give it up to you, Jack, because we talked about flat Earth. I'm obviously not as in deep into the flat Earth thing, but as soon as I said, man, I started laughing at the whole flat Earth concept. Jack just hits me day after day with flat Earth information, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Like I'm sitting here and I'm giving him a compliment. Is when people don't believe something, they need to research it. Know why you don't believe it. Don't just say, well, because of this. And I'm guilty of this for a long time. Well, because I saw it on Fox News. I'm just throwing an affiliate out there, but I saw it on Fox News, right? But the reality is, you have to go in and you have to do your research. You have to look into it because, like Jack was saying, there's so many things that we've been told are like this is what happened, but it's completely different. So where in your life are you just doing what you're told and it's making you feel so out of alignment. You're like, what the hell am I? How did I get here? Because as soon as you start asking those questions, you can start to control your own internal direction of where you want to go. I think that's the biggest thing for me, especially with purpose, is people just question where you're at right now. Not in a negative way, not in a like, don't try to cause chaos in your life, but just get curious. And if chaos comes, look in the chaos. It's an invitation. The pain, the guilt, the suffering. It's an invitation and it has potential and it's good. I know that's crazy. I feel like it's a crazy concept. I don't know, Jack. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. We've talked about getting comfortable in the uncomfortable how many times in the last 2.5 years since we've known each other. I mean, how many times have we been uncomfortable and just going through some shit and just been like, dude, this sucks. And not that we need, and it was just like when you called with Liam, you didn't need me to say anything. You just needed a friend to hear that you were going through pain. That was it. And I've talked about that. I went to a ceremony for another person here who lost their kid, and it was beautiful because I brought up Liam because in my life Liam was the closest to me. Even though I never got to meet Liam, I knew you. You're my partner, and it was something big on my heart. And so I got to do this whole beautiful ceremony, and I got to feel what these parents were feeling. I got to feel what you were feeling. And I got to like really just embrace myself. Dude, I started crying in the middle of the ceremony. And I'm like, there's only like, first of all, like three guys. And it was a powerful ceremony. We're actually going there next week for a solstice ceremony. And it was just really powerful when you can feel it, when you can really get involved and really just trust that your body knows what to do and knows how to make sense of it also. Because a lot of it makes no fucking sense. As you said, you're like, dude, it didn't make sense. I remember when you called me. I'll never forget that. I will never forget that phone call ever. You probably will forget it, but I know exactly what you said, and it scared me to death. Um, but also, when I look at it, it's very nourishing. It's very eye-opening and real. And the most real part is that we need to go within. We have to, and we have to face all the inner turmoil that we've ever fucking faced or went through or thought or even made up. People make up shit all the time and that becomes their reality. And it's so crazy. So there's a big part right here, men, that we have been slacking on. And that's the reflection part. It's the part that we just always are slacking on because men want to achieve, men want outcomes, men want to protect, men want to pay. And if you're one of the men out there who are saying, no, I don't want to do that or that or that, well, you're probably gay, but that's okay. And she's like, that makes no sense at all. My gay friends do that. No, I'm joking, guys. Uh, I'm just saying that there's more to it. You have to get in touch with yourself. You have to fucking look internal and you have to do the work. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. And if you're not going to do the work, then you're going to die similar to how my dad died, empty, lonely, no one around, no one crying for him. Because all he was doing is drugs and alcohol, and he killed himself doing that. And the worst part is like now I have my kids who will be like, well, what was Grandpa Jack like? And I'm like, you know, now that I don't blame him or I'm not mad at him because I also had to sit and go through my own shit with my father. And especially I did it after he died. I didn't do it while he was alive. And I don't think it would have helped while he was alive anyways, because he was not that kind of man. But when I sat back and I started accepting who he was, I looked back, I'm like, dude, when I look at my dad when he was young, he was such this loving dude. And he was a big goofball just like me. He was awesome at sports. But there was no parents there to nourish that. There was no friends there to nourish that. He was in high school fighting and doing all this bullshit. And so, of course, what was going to happen? He was left alone by himself. Then he went and was picked on by his own family. And it wasn't love centered. Instead, it was, what are you going to do for the family? What kind of output are you going to have for this family to keep us operating properly and grow our business? And so that's what killed him. And I know people don't want to say that, but they'll be like, no, it wasn't that. It was the drugs and alcohol. Well, what caused him to drink? It was the lack of love. That's what's happening. It's the lack of love from other men. And I know a lot of guys will be like, oh man, that's so blah, blah, blah. It's not. You're imbalanced with your feminine energy. You're imbalanced with your masculine. And when they are balanced, you're going to find that love is the most important emotion that we have every single day, in and out. So you have to wake up and be grateful. You have to go to bed and be grateful. You also have to be looking at your kids and be grateful. Everything in life, there's gratitude that can be there. And when you're not taught to have gratitude, or you're not taught to have love centered ideas or love centered creations, because that's what I feel like a lot of homeschool kids talk about is like, oh man, how can I be a better this? Or how can I help them? Or how can I? It's all like love centered community type of styles. And it's unbelievable to me because I'm just scratching the surface of homeschooling because my son's about to be 6. And I know, Alex, you've been in it longer than me, but it's just, I even watch your kids. I'm like, dude, these kids are just amazing. Even on your videos, I could feel their energy has more love to them than kids that are in just high school, goofing around, or junior high, or wherever they're at, because they're surrounded by peers that are all just trying to figure out life. But when you're homeschooling, they're around people who have figured out life. And so they get to have those lessons all the time around them. And many fathers out there, you're not surrounding yourself with other dads that actually talk about life, that talk about becoming better, that are living better, that are talking on a higher frequency, that are, just walking into rooms and you feel their energy uplift the entire fucking room. You're not by these men. And that's what you need to get by. You need to get by these men, become that kind of man, and then continue that process over and over, because that's how we're going to help elevate everything and make our kids better, and then change the fucking outlook of the world, because what's going on in the world right now is total shit show. And you send your kids to high schools and colleges, does nothing for them afterwards. We all know that, because the world's going to be totally different in the next 5 years, not let alone 10, 20 years. It's going to be totally different in 5 years. AI is taking over. If they're not even looking at stuff from AI to all the technologies, they need to know all of that. And I feel like homeschool kids are playing with all of that because their parents are. And their parents are like, hey, check this out. And their parents have them all day long so they can learn it together. I mean, my son's 5, like I said, guys, and he knows exactly what AI is. He knows the difference of AI and Siri. Shit. Like, ask Siri, ask AI, ask Google, Dad. Like, he knows the differences of all of these and how to manipulate them to help him get educated, learn something new, create something. There's many outcomes for it. Create pictures, he likes to do photos where he can just be like, oh, me and my brother, an adventure with a robot in the sky. He comes up with stuff and I do it for him so he can see it. So I'm not trying to go and just preach homeschooling. I'm just saying, I wish I was homeschooled because I would have had an identity and purpose earlier in life. I would have known my identity was something else. And I would have had a father that would have been like, hey, I think I know what your purpose could possibly be. Because that's what I see with a lot of homeschoolers. I mean, Alex, you're one of them. I watched you with Grayson, your oldest, teaching him, walking hikes with him, going surfing with him, trying all kinds of things and seeing what sticks and what doesn't stick. And that's the thing that I never got. I never had someone And I often tell my son, I'm like, dude, I'm jealous of your parents in your life because I'm like, dude, like I just wish, and this is what's made me this father, is that I wish I had all of this. I wish I had a father. I wish I had a father when my mom died and I didn't go into drugs and alcohol. But that was my story, so my kids wouldn't have to. So I accept it as mine, and it is mine, and I hold it tightly, and I'm proud of what I went through and came out of, so they don't have to. And sometimes that's the lesson that I need to bring back to my kids is that hey, you know, dad's purpose was tied up for a long time because I had to go through the purgatory, so I can make sure that I don't let you go through the purgatory yourself, and you can just elevate straight to the top, man, and really find your purpose, identify who you are, and live a very nice life, fully and thoroughly for your entire life, the way it's meant to be. We're not meant to work for someone else for 60 fucking years and then just go and die. Like it makes no sense, guys. You have to think that that's crazy when you look at how this world is constructed and operates. It's fucking lunatic lifestyle, dude. Like, how could you even think that it's so great to buy that one house in the block with many other houses all around them, with a straight grass in the front and back, not a fucking garden how it used to be, or hemp that was mandatory when the United States started. Um, you can't think that's normal. You cannot. And then being taxed. I mean, we went to war for 3% tax, and now people are taxed 50, 60% when you add all the taxes up. And then you buy a house, and then you have property tax on top of the house. It's like tax after tax after tax. It's the illusion of freedom that you guys are all believing in, and now you've tied your identity to it. Again, that's what we're talking about, identity. And when you disengage from that and say, well, let me take a look from outside perspective, like Alex lives in Dominican Republic, I live in Mexico. It's easy as fuck from this view to see what the United States looks like. 100%, because a lot of you think Mexico is dangerous and live in mud huts possibly, but that's not true at all. It's the safest country I've ever been in of the 5 countries I've lived in, and it's just the most family oriented place I've ever lived, with the friendliest people in a culture that's rich. So yeah, there's many things. I know I just hit you with, Alex. I was just going all over the place. I see that we're coming up on time, so I just want to make sure, guys, identity and purpose, know who you are, and help others. That's a big one just to throw out there.
Dude, I lost a thought that I was about to have. I was going to tie it all together, but that's okay. I'm going to go with it, and then I'm sure it will come back because that's how my brain works sometimes. But, I really, what stuck with me was you were talking about uh, parenting, not having that father to help you navigate through your childhood. And one thing in my own internal work is always been, especially with my oldest son, Grayson, we're very similar, is that every time I experience something challenging fatherhood, I always ask myself, what would 8-year-old or 9-year-old, or Grayson's 12 now, so what would 12-year-old Alex need? Because I was just like you, Jack. My dad was a financial provider. He's outside the house, never there, emotionally present. He was verbally, physically abusive. So for me, I'm like, I need to change something. I didn't have that connection. So the children are our teachers if we allow them to be. And what I mean by that is if we're going through something that is coming up internally, our kids do something, there's something for us to look into. There's the shadow side or something that comes up that we have to dive into. We need to reparent ourselves in the process. And I loved how you talked about love. You hit on the theme of love, and a lot of people, they have this, when I say love, the first thing that might come up is like intimacy, affection, right? But love, this energy of love, is really about how we show up in aspects of our life when life gives us things that we didn't choose, right? So I would call this more of an attitudinal value, right? How we can choose to be in situations, as I mentioned earlier. And so as we are going through these processes with our kids, like you said, we get to choose how we're going to show up for ourselves and for our kids. So we're reparenting not only ourselves, but now we're showing our kids a deeper part of ourselves so they can see this. And where I was going with all of this, especially with the love today, I was at the gym. My wife and I was at the gym, and my daughter was coloring on this book. She brought her book and she was coloring. and she's ripping pages out of her book. And I'm over here, I'm doing squats and I'm sweating and I'm looking at her. I'm like, what is she doing? She like keeps ripping pages off. But I don't look. She asked me not to look. She's like, just don't look. What? Don't watch. So I continue finishing my workout, and at the end of the workout, she has this plastic bag full of everything that she ripped out, and she had folded the papers nice and neatly, and she shakes them around, and then she starts to go to every single person in the gym class, 9 people, and she says, "Pick something." My daughter had made 9 photos, drew 9 photos with her name and some markings and whatever the case may be. She's 5 years old, so imagine a 5-year-old drawing something. It's just scribble, but it's beautiful. And she goes around, and the joy that I saw on people's faces. And where I'm going with this is love. It's just this energy of how we show up in the world. It's not necessarily an affection. It's just how we choose to be in the world. And so with we were talking about losing a child earlier. You were telling me about that process, and that's why I find it so important, man. When I come across an experience, I ask myself, what is this experience trying to teach me? What is the meaning? How can I give back in the world? Who's impacted by it? And the reason why I say this is because I heard this recently. I think it was from Viktor Frankl. I read it in his book recently. He talks about self-transcendence. And he says that man is not, they're not fully men, or they're not fully human unless they're reaching beyond themselves, they're serving something greater, they're loving someone and self, they're contributing to others, and they're aiming at meaning outside of their ego. So it's not about building their ego, it's about this of service, sense of self, right? And for me, when I look back at my own life and a lot of people, we don't put meaning on a lot of the big milestones. And it's a rhetoric question here, but Jack, I know for me, when I found out that my wife was pregnant with our first kid with Grayson, my dad didn't give me any type of advice of what it was to be a father. He was like, "Oh, congratulations, buddy. Good job." Like he was so stoked for me, but he never had given me wisdom of what to expect, how my wife was going to be during pregnancy, how birth was going to be, so on and so forth. So now as men, it's so important that we find value and meaning in our lives in these small moments, but from an intrinsic point of view, not externally, not what other people are telling us, but for ourselves. And I say all of that because we are navigating every single day. Purpose is chosen every single day. And through fatherhood, like you were saying, through fatherhood, we get an opportunity to redefine our purpose every single day, or even take small, more clear steps to our purpose every single day. Maybe one day is not maybe we take a couple steps back one day. We eat a donut from a market. I don't know, like we take a step back, or we're strict clean eating. I'm just messing because you guys, Jack, he ate a donut a couple days ago, and I'm just giving him a hard time. But where I'm going with this is it's important, it's so important to be able to do something greater than self, right? And when we do that, we're showing our kids the same. And that helps us build a connection not only for ourselves, but with our kids. And I tell you, Jack, man, I love seeing you do the walks and everything with your sons. Basically, what you're doing at this moment, and I know we've talked about this before, you're giving your son everything you didn't have, just include yourself in that process too. So these walks that you're going on and all the experiences, the Warrior Kid Club, dude, that's for you too. Fucking bring it in the world. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it for myself as well.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think all these things that we're creating, it's the inner voice sometimes needed that, and I needed it back then. But I'm also taking the lessons now at 44, and I think that's important for a lot of you guys to hear. I'm still taking the lessons now at 44 and trying to implement the things that really work for my life. So if you're just one of those people that are out there listening to this podcast, and you're like, "Fuck, that was lot of great information," and then you just continue on with your day. Well, that's the problem with the fucking world, man. You are the fucking problem. It's too many people that are complacent, listening to shows that are up leveling them, teaching them a new route, a new way, and them saying that's really cool that they do it, and then them not trying. Like, you need to try new things. I'm not saying what we're saying you need to do everything. I'm just saying try new shit. Put yourself out there. You need to have a little bit of friction. And guys, we're getting close to wrapping up, so I'm going to finish with my final word, and I'm going to pass it to Alex for the very final word. But don't forget, the only way we can grow is if you share the show. Go out and follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, comment, leave reviews, or just, leave a rating on Apple Podcast. That's how we grow. That's the only way we grow. So please go out there, share the show, leave us a review, rating, and follow us. Guys, as we close this conversation on identity and purpose, remember this. Society has given you a script for what fathers should be, often rooted in comfortable yet draining zone of excellence, as Alex brought up earlier. It's easy and you'll get praised for it, but it'll never fully satisfy the man inside. Your true purpose, your zone of genius, does not lie in simply repeating the script. Your task as a dad against the narrative is to recognize the difference. Identity is the foundation you build. Purpose is the unique structure you choose to create upon it. Don't let your role dictate your destiny. Don't be defined by what you have to do, but by the unique contribution you can make. Tonight, I challenge you to ask yourself, who am I when I am not being what the world expects of me? Find that unique man and let him lead. That is how you build legacy, not just a life. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Alex, over to you for the final word. Thank you, bro.
Man, I just want to first say thank you again for letting me just rant with you. It's always fun when we get together, man, because we don't really know where we're going. We just like hope a dart lands somewhere on the board. But I want to go back to a time in my life because I know there's a lot of men that have done this where the work week you're doing well at work, you're killing it. Like when I was in the military, man, the work week was amazing. I wasn't always enjoying it the amount of hours, but I didn't really have complaints. But when Saturday and especially Sunday hit, I had this crash, right? Where like I felt empty. I felt like something was missing. And the reality was it got quiet, right? I was always keeping this noise to keep me busy, to keep me distracted, and it would be disguised as productivity. And so, if you're listening to this and you're a man and you're experiencing that, you find yourself on a Saturday or Sunday and you're just like, man, something's missing. I'm not motivated. I feel depressed. Don't go get medication. Don't go get diagnosed. The reality is you're missing meaning, right? And we have this responsibility to ourselves to find our purpose, to find our meaning. And when we have this responsibility and we see it as a responsibility, we don't see pressure. We don't see punishment. We don't see burden. What we see is invitation, a doorway, as I mentioned earlier, to your purpose, and that's service to others. It's contagious to every aspect of your life. Some people, I'll say this in my own experience, and then I'm going to close it out here, is some people chase pleasure. Some people chase power, but the reality is what they're really chasing is a meaning, something to feel valued. Don't get caught up in the social media addictions or the constant distractions or working a job that you hate, but you're really good at it, or the unhealthy relationships, right? I want you to start questioning the areas of your life where you're avoiding the tension and look and see what the purpose is in all of it. I appreciate you, Jack. Once again, it's fun. Till next time.
All right, guys. Later.